Good evening, everyone. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We are here to bring you a live update on the Iran-Israel crisis and the situation in Kursk, Russia. We're going to talk about both of those things tonight during the stream and give you updates. And we're going to be taking comments and questions on the air from you guys as usual. And I appreciate you joining the stream, and shout out to our moderators who are here. I really appreciate them being here. We have Ruth Krafasi is moderating right now. Thank you so much, Ruth and RJ. They are both there over there on YouTube. Also, we have on Twitch McBritches and Papa Bear and Surly Dev. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us over on X. And hang on one moment here. We have Kay Lowry Body is moderating over there on Facebook. Thank you so much, Kay, and Ronald Egnor. Thanks to all of our moderators, and a huge thanks to Gregory Albright, who gave 50 people memberships in YouTube before we even started. Hey, thank you, Gregory. That's super generous of you. Make sure you thank Gregory if he gave you a membership. Thank you, Gregory. Much appreciated. So you're looking here at a live shot of the Israel-Lebanon border. A reason that we haven't been on earlier today we were on covering something else earlier, but a reason that we haven't been on the air covering the Israel situation earlier is I am assuming that there will be no attack tonight, because tomorrow, it's actually later today, Thursday. It's already Thursday morning, Israel time. But just in a matter of hours, actually, there's supposed to be ceasefire talks in the Middle East that Israel will be participating in. So it just seemed to me, given what I was hearing, that it was quite unlikely that Iran or Hezbollah will attack Israel the day before the ceasefire talks, because then they could be accused of messing up the ceasefire talks, and they could just wait a day or two and then see how it goes. So I would be really surprised if, and there hasn't been so far, but I would really be surprised if there was any kind of attack before the ceasefire talks. I mean, you never know, but that's basically why we haven't been on the air for covering that today. I wanted to cover some other news and actually get a couple things done I need to get done. So so we'll give you updates on this situation. I have the cameras. I have access to the cameras. Again, if there's any kind of rocket alerts or anything that come up while we're on the air, I can just put the cameras on, and we'll give you some updates on this. But I'm not particularly optimistic about the ceasefire talks, but at the same time, I would be very surprised if there was an attack before then. And those, I don't know when they start, exact time, but it's already Thursday, 3 a.m., 3 in the morning Thursday in Israel. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sometime after that. After they start, to me, it could really happen at any time. Miguel says they could attack because it's unexpected they attack tonight. I mean, sure, it just seems to me like, why would they bother? I'm sure Israel's watching for it anyway. And again, it's just PR-wise, they could just wait an extra day or two if they're ready to go. Let's see here. I thought, did somebody see something streak across? Was that like a bug or something? I saw something out of the corner of my eye. There's no rocket alerts or anything right now. So I assume if something flew across, it was like somebody said it was a moth, bug, bird or moth. Yeah, so I'm not going to really worry about it right now. If there is a rocket alert, we will hear about it, but I'm not aware of any right now. So we will be keeping an eye on this. I wonder how I should. I'm going to try to figure out how to maybe have this up there while I'm talking about other things. Yeah, I'll do that. What I might do is maybe, I don't know if I might put this in a corner or something like that. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this while I'm talking about the Ukraine stuff. I could put it in a corner. I could put it... I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll put it like this. If I do this... If I go like... we'll see. Let me figure it out. Let me figure it out. So once we start talking about Ukraine, maybe I'll try to like put this up in a corner or something. But I'll keep an eye on what's going on. Again, if there's any like, rocket alerts, we can go right back to it. Oh, yeah, I think that was like a bug that just flew across or something, by the way. All right, let's talk about, we'll come back to Israel. Let's talk about Ukraine for a little bit. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. And let me do this. Deep state map. We'll put up deep state map. All right, so if I put this up, how am I going to do this? Maybe I'll put this like, gosh, is this going to work? I don't know if that really works. I can try doing this like this for now, guys. I don't know if this is going to really, if it's going to work. But, okay, so we have the view of the Israel-Lebanon border in the corner. What we have over here is, can you even see? You can't even see this. Hold on. I'd rather have this in a different place. Maybe I'll put it in the lower corner. Maybe I'll put this down here. This might be better. And I put that right there. How about that? That might be better. I usually don't do it this way. Okay. There, fine. So I want to show you the deep state map. Oh, and let me turn the volume down on that because it'll just get in the way. So what we want to do is talk about what's going on with Ukraine in this Kursk incursion, where it's now into its second week. A little over a week ago, Ukraine surprisingly had a force of thousands of people, maybe about 10,000 people. They started moving into Russian territory in the Kursk region, the Kursk Oblast, which means region. And if you see the map here, this is called Deep State Map. I really like this map. I appreciate them letting me use it. And you can find this map at deepstatemap.live. So what this map shows is there is Ukraine here. And everything in red here is Russian-occupied Ukraine. It's Ukraine, but occupied by Russia. And you'll see here it says Kursk Oblast, which is the Kursk region of Russia. But if we zoom in, what you see, there's the Sumy region of Ukraine, and there's the Kursk Oblast of Russia, and there's the city of Kursk there. You see this blue region here. Now, this is not exact. There's different maps you can find of this, and Deep State updates it periodically, and Institute for the Study of War has their own map and stuff. But just to give a general idea of what's going on, this blue area is the How do they describe it? They say liberated is what they say. Where is the key here? Do I have a key? There should be like a color key where it gives detail about settings, ruler, drawing, weather, weapons range. Anyways, the blue area would be the area that Ukrainian troops at least temporarily control, and that blue area is that's Russian territory. That's Russian territory, but that's what Ukraine has taken control of in the last week. There, including the town or some of the town of Sudza. So again, you can see there is that purplish line is the line between Ukraine and Russia. And this is the biggest by far cross-border incursion by Ukraine during this war. It's also, I believe, the first cross-border incursion that's being done by Ukrainian troops and not being done by some kind of small group of Russians who are against, like, anti-Putin Russians. These are thousands of Ukrainian troops. So we want to give you an update on what's going on with this Ukraine incursion into Russian territory. It's kind of hard to get information on it. The Ukraine government certainly isn't talking about it in detail, but some news comes out over time. It's not even exactly clear what the ultimate goal of it is for Ukraine. Are they going to try to keep some territory or not? There's various reasons they might want to do it, and where are they going to go? And so there's a lot of unknowns here. But I want to give you some updates. And one update that I saw before coming on the air, which maybe some of you have seen, is so already over 100,000 people in Russia in the Kursk region. I believe it's all in the Kursk. Well, there might be let me say this. 100,000 people, over 100,000 people in Russia have been evacuated due to this incursion. Civilians who live in these areas and around the areas are being evacuated. And actually, just in the last few hours, the head of the Kursk region announced that there's a whole other evacuation of part of Kursk where about 20,000 people live. They've just been ordered to evacuate. Right here, see how it says Glushkovo? The Glushkovo region has been ordered to evacuate. 20,000 people. So there's a thought that maybe there's Ukrainian troops in this Glushkovo region. Let me show you where that is, and then I'll show you some of the reporting. I'll show you what the governor said from Kursk region. Glushkovo. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me do something real quick with the map here. Give me one moment here. I got to fix this map real quick. Let me do that. Hang on. Just fixing the map. Just fixing things. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Glushkovo. Right there. Now, I don't know if there might be a Glushkovo. There's Glushkovi district. Maybe I'm talking about Glushkovi district. How about Glushkovi district? Let's see what this gives me. That's bigger. There's Glushkovi district. I think that's what's been evacuated. I can tell you for sure in a second. I have it here. But that's let's see. It is yes. Glushkovi district has been evacuated. Factual News posted about it, saying Glushkovi district houses about 20,000 people in Russia, and it is now under evacuation. It's right on the border. There's the border of Russia and Ukraine here, right here. I wonder if I could do it this way. Yes, there it is. There's Glushkovy district. So Glushkovy district in Russia just announced a few hours ago that they are evacuating. Oh, I'm sorry. My brain isn't working. Glushkovsky. I left out a K. Glushkovsky, not Glushkovy. Glushkovsky. Glushkovsky or Glushkovsky. So I'm sorry. My brain had stopped working. There's the town of Glushkovo and the district of Glushkovki. Now let me show you what the I'm going to show you the message that was posted by the governor a few hours ago of Kursk region, where Glushkovsky district is. One moment here. Now I got to find this again. Give me a second. Let me dig up the announcement here. Okay, right here. I got it. All right. This is the announcement, and this announcement was made at 4:45 Eastern Time. And Kursk time right now is 3:14. So this announcement was made around midnight Kursk time. That's when this evacuation notice was released. Around 11:45 p.m. local time. Okay, here is, I'm going to show you right now. This is from the governor of Kursk region. This is what he posted. Check it out. Oops. It says, the regional operational headquarters decided on the mandatory evacuation of the entire Glushkovsky district. As previously reported, coordination of the process of departure of local residents is entrusted to law enforcement agencies, local administration, and vigilantes of the Kursk Patriot Center. Dear fellow countrymen, I ask you to treat the current situation with understanding and follow all recommendations from security forces and local authorities. And he says, making people move in the middle of the night. Geez. Now, I don't know. Look, maybe, look, this was announced. I'm reading you the announcement. And this announcement happened, again, at 11:45 p.m. locals when it was posted. But for all I know, people heard about it there earlier. I don't know when people heard about it. I'm looking at the telegram of the Kursk region governor, and that is where a lot of information has been coming out. So that's when he announced it on his telegram. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like a strange time to make this announcement. But maybe people there were aware of it sooner. I'm not sure. Where are they going, Florida? I don't know exactly. I mean, clearly they're going away from that region. I also don't know the exact region. I don't know the exact reason for evacuating them. Is it that? I mean, one obvious reason would be if Ukrainian troops are in the area and Russia thinks that they're going to be fighting Ukrainian troops in that area, they'd want to get the civilians out of there. But I mean, that's again, around 20,000 people live in Glushkovsky district. You know, also remember last week I think like maybe 2 or 3 days into the incursion, the leading general Gerasimov in Russia told Putin that Russian forces had stopped the invading Ukrainians. But clearly they have not stopped them because stuff like this is still happening. It's Glushkovsky district. Glushkovsky. Yes, actually, it's more. So the population of Glushkovsky district, according to Wikipedia, is 20,000 people. Glushkovsky district, and it is on the border with Ukraine. All right, let me show you some other things too. Now the problem is when I want to do. Let me go back to me for a second. Hang on a second here. Let's see. Now, Tendar, who I follow, for this is a good account to follow for Ukraine updates. Tendar posted and said, Russian regime authorities have issued urgent evacuation orders to all remaining civilians in the Glushkovsky district area in green. Kursk region. It is likely, Tendar thinks it's likely that Ukrainian forces have already crossed into that region. Yes, and as El Duderino says, over 100,000 Russians, well, it was over 100,000 before today, have been evacuated. Mr. Showtime thinks that Ukraine is proving that Russian army not trained. I'm going to show you some analysis from the Institute for the Study of War as well about this. Let me show you guys an article about this. By the way, thanks to Deshark for the gift memberships. I really appreciate that, Deshark. Thank you also, 420 Blunt Smoker, for being a new member. Thank you so much, Chris Doyle. Chris, just to get to your questions real quick, you said, what about reports that Iran is closing airspace for live weapons fire? That kind of stuff's been actually going on for, I believe, months. Those airspace closures, they're not full airspace closures. They're airspace closure for like something like 0 to 10,000 feet or 0 to 12,000 feet for a limited part of Iran. So, and those have been going on for a while. There's a bunch, there's been NOTAMs for that. So Iran closing a part of Iran lower than civilian airliners fly for weapons practice is something that's been going on, and that is not a sign of an imminent attack. If there's any other kind of airspace closure, which is something really different, and a sign of a possible attack, I will certainly let you know. And you also said, and that Anthony Blinken canceled his trip. That was news from yesterday, I believe, when Blinken postponed his trip to the Middle East. But that came out yesterday, probably in around noontime or so. And that was out of concern for just, the unsettled situation there. But that didn't happen today. There are no canceled. The peace talks are the ceasefire talks will be taking place on Thursday, I believe, in Qatar. Hamas has said they won't show up, but there's still going to be. Supposedly, they can still participate in the sense of they'll have some representation there who can talk to them afterwards. But I don't know that anything is going to come out of those ceasefire talks. But I do think that Hezbollah and Iran would wait to attack and not do it before the peace talks. That's just before the ceasefire talks. That's just my opinion. Thank you so much, Chris Doyle, for your support. I really appreciate it, Chris Doyle. Let me show you something about this incursion here. Little updated article here. We'll take some of your comments and questions too. Jeff Doritis agrees with me and thinks peace talks will probably rule out attack tonight. And it's already Thursday morning in Israel, and the peace talks are the ceasefire talks are on Thursday. Okay, so let me show you this. Here is an article from AP. And you can see, ooh, now this, I might have to move things. I might have to move things a little bit for this. Hang on, there's some photos here too. Why don't I, for the moment, I'm gonna move, well, wait, let's see here. Anything I want to show in particular? Let's do this. A Ukrainian armored vehicle near the Russian-Ukrainian border. All right, we can show that. But I'm going to move this over so I can read the article and you can see some of the article here. Let me move this. Move this over here for now. Move this over here. Just move everything around. Okay, fine. Ukraine says it has taken more ground in prisoners during its advance into Russia border region. This is from Associated Press. Ukrainian forces pushed on with their major cross-border advance into Russia's Kursk region for a second week today, claiming that they took more ground, captured more Russian prisoners, and destroyed a bomber in attacks on military airfields. Assault troops advanced about a mile farther into areas of the Kursk region, said the commander of the Ukrainian military, General Alexander Syrskyi, in a video posted on President Zelensky's Telegram channel. Ukrainian troops also took more than 100 Russian soldiers prisoner, he said. Zelensky said they would eventually be swapped for Ukrainian prisoners of war. So from what we're hearing, and with this new evacuation of 20,000 people in Russia on the Russian side of the border, sounds like this incursion is still going and progressing in certain places. Additionally, Ukraine's general staff claimed that their troops destroyed a Russian Su-34 jet used to launch devastating glide bombs at Ukrainian frontline positions in cities. The surprise Ukrainian push into the Kursk region that began on August 6th, though 8 days ago, has rattled the Kremlin. The daring operation is the latest attack on Russia since the daring operation is the largest attack on Russia since World War II and could involve as many as 10,000 Ukrainian troops backed by armor and artillery, military analysts say. The commander of the Ukrainian military said claims Ukrainian forces have advanced into about 390 miles of the 390 square miles of the Kursk region, though it was not possible to independently verify that claim. If true, and if Ukraine actually controls all that territory in the Kursk region, it would have captured in just 1 week almost as much Ukrainian land as Russian forces took between January and July of this year, according to the Institute for the Study of War, a Washington-based think tank. We don't know exactly how well that territory is controlled. I mean, it's not, there's different ways you can control something. Do you just have some soldiers kind of sparsely spread out and the citizens are kind of not paying attention to you? That's one kind of control, but it doesn't seem like a very firm control. But maybe you've taken over buildings and you've established defensive fortifications and that kind of thing. That would seem like a different kind of control. So I can't speak in detail about how much they might control in what sense these various areas. Russian authorities acknowledged Ukrainian gains in the Kursk region, but they described them as smaller than what Ukraine has claimed. Even so, now this article was written this afternoon. So this article was written before it was announced tonight that the Glushkovsky region of 20,000 people was being ordered to evacuate by Russia. So even before that, Russia had already evacuated about 132,000 people from the Kursk and Belgorod regions and had plans to evacuate another 59,000 more. Ukraine's deputy prime minister said Wednesday that the military plans to open humanitarian corridors that would allow civilians in Ukraine-controlled areas of the Kursk region to head elsewhere in Russia or into Ukraine. Ukraine also claimed overnight Tuesday into Wednesday that it conducted its biggest attack on Russian military airfields since the start of the Kremlin's invasion of February 22. There were unconfirmed reports of multiple airfields being hit with Ukrainian attacks last night. A Ukrainian security official told AP that the aim was to sap Russia's air power advantage. He spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not allowed to speak publicly. Now, as I mentioned, there's this question of why is Ukraine doing this? Do they want to permanently take over this land? Do they want to maybe take over some land temporarily and then exchange it for land that Russia has taken over inside Ukraine? What is the plan here? So you can see here in this article, it says, a Ukrainian foreign ministry spokesperson said Tuesday that Ukraine has no intention to occupy the Russian territory it controls. Rather, it aims to stop Russia from firing missiles into Ukraine from the Kursk region. So the idea is that they can push the forces back far enough into Russia that they're not firing stuff into Ukraine from that region. Analysts say Ukraine's forces targeted the Kursk region because Russia's weak command and control structure there made it vulnerable. So they just picked an area that they thought would be easier to invade, and they invaded it. And they did an incursion there. This expert, retired U.S. Admiral Robert Murrett, a professor and deputy director of Syracuse University's Institute for Security Policy and Law, said, the situation is still highly fluid, but with clear signs that the Russian command and control of responding units is still coming together, with all-important unity of command not yet achieved. The next 2 to 3 days will be critical for both sides. So, I have heard a number of experts in recent days say something to the effect of, it's going to get harder for Ukraine, Russia's going to bring in more troops, Russia was really surprised by this, but they're going to bring in more troops, they're going to put up a stronger defense, and it's just going to be harder for Ukraine. I can't say to what degree that started yet. Michael Kaufman, for example, who's a well-known expert on the region, who I think is really smart, I was listening to a podcast he did, and he was saying something to that effect recently, but unclear. I mean, it does look like Ukraine is still making some progress there. Let's see here. In an AP video shot in Ukraine's Sumy region, which borders Kursk, in which analysts say is serving as a staging ground for the cross-border advance, Ukrainian trucks and armored vehicles traveled along roads lined with thick forests. Meanwhile, in Russia's Belgorod border region, which is next to Kursk, Russia's Belgorod border region, which is next to the Kursk region, declared a regional emergency Wednesday during heavy Ukrainian shelling. A federal emergency in Russia was declared in Kursk region on Saturday. The Belgorod governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov, described the situation in Belgorod, Russia, as extremely difficult and tense, as the attacks by Ukraine destroyed homes and caused civilian casualties, he claimed, unnerving locals. Children in particular are being moved to safety, Gladkov said on his Telegram channel, adding that about 5,000 children were in camps in safe areas. He said the previous day, roughly 11,000 people had fled their homes, with about 1,000 staying in temporary accommodation centers. So, how long is Ukraine going to be there? How long are they going to stay? Are they going to leave after a while? Are they going to stay there? What's going on? How long are they going to be in the Kursk region? The AP says it wasn't clear how, when, or whether Ukraine would attempt to extricate itself from the ground it has taken. How about that? It wasn't clear how, when, or whether Ukraine would attempt to extricate itself from the ground it has taken. The Ukrainian military claims it controls 74 settlements, believed to be villages or hamlets in the Kursk region. A Ukrainian TV channel published a video report Wednesday that it said was from Sudza, a Russian town about 6 miles from the border. The report showed burned out columns of Russian military vehicles and Ukrainian soldiers handing out humanitarian aid to local residents and removing Russian flags from an administrative building. So one theory about why Ukraine is doing this, about why Ukraine has taken thousands of troops and launched this sudden surprise incursion into the Kursk region of Russia. One theory is that Ukraine would like Russia to be forced to take troops away from areas where Russia has been putting a lot of pressure on Ukraine and making gains inside Ukraine, like the Donetsk region. And maybe Ukraine wants those troops to be transferred over to fight this incursion and ease up, and that would make things easier for Ukraine in other areas. So you can see this paragraph here. It says, Russia's predicament is whether to pull troops from the front line in Ukraine's Donetsk region, where achieving a breakthrough is one of the Kremlin's primary war goals to defend Kursk and halt the Ukrainian advance. President Biden said on Tuesday that the developments in Russia are creating a real dilemma for President Putin. Biden declined to comment further on the top secret operation until it's over. The Institute for the Study of War said the incursion is unlikely to shift the dynamics of the conflict. We'll look at their report in a little bit. But the ISW said Russian authorities will likely remain averse. They won't want to. Russian authorities will likely remain averse to pulling Russian military units engaged in combat from Donetsk region and will likely continue deploying limited numbers of irregular forces to Kursk due to concerns about further slowing the tempo of Russian operations in these higher priority directions, it said yesterday. All right, we'll finish up this article, then we'll take some comments from you guys. This is from Associated Press. A woman in Belgorod told the Associated Press on Tuesday that the Ukrainian shelling had been more intense for about 10 days until Monday, when it was followed by a lull. This is Belgorod, which is next to Kursk. I believe it is next to Kursk. I'll have to check my deep state map here. Let's see. Here's Ukraine here on the deep state map. Here is Kursk, and here is Belgorod. That's Russia in here. Deep state map. Deepstatemap.live is where you can find this map. Let's see. So they said, so a woman in Belgorod told the AP that Ukrainian shelling had been more intense for about 10 days until Monday, when it was followed by a lull. The number of people in Belgorod who openly supported the war has decreased since the start of the intensified Ukrainian attack, she told the AP, speaking on condition of anonymity. She said when explosions started near the city, when people were dying and when all this started happening before our eyes, and when it affected people personally, they stopped at least openly supporting the war, the woman said. Now, by the way, one other reason that I have heard, one other possible reason for Ukraine doing this, for Ukraine launching this significant, involving thousands of troops, incursion into Russian territory, is that perhaps Ukraine wants to show Russians, wants to give them a taste of the war, wants them to see what warfare involves, because a lot of Russians may have been insulated from negative consequences of their country being involved in this invasion of Ukraine. Maybe undermine support for it in Russia. In his nightly address Tuesday, President Zelensky of Ukraine said the Kursk operation is also meant to lift the country's spirits after 900 days of war and to make an emphatic statement about Ukraine's military capabilities. Now all of us in Ukraine should act as unitedly and efficiently as we did in the first weeks and months of this war, when Ukraine took the initiative and began to turn the situation of the benefit to the benefit of our state. Another reason I've heard that Ukraine might want to do this, I have no idea what their reasons are, but another reason I've heard mentioned is maybe Ukraine wants to show its Western allies and Western backers that things aren't stuck. Before this incursion happened, it had not been like great news for Ukraine coming out of Ukraine. They've been losing some territory in Donetsk. They've been having a difficult time getting back territory from Russia. So maybe this makes some Western countries feel like, oh, there's a chance that they actually could make progress if we keep supporting them and supplying them, rather than that they're just stuck in this stalemate. Our viewer, Buckminster Fullern, says, check all the above reasons. One thing, I believe it was Michael Kaufman said on he did it's a podcast called War on the Rocks, if you want to check it out, if you look up War on the Rocks. And he did an episode, I believe, with Dara Massacote last week on this incursion. And if I remember right, one thing Michael Kaufman said is there could be a bunch of reasons why they do this. And maybe a bunch of different goals, and some of the goals they might achieve and some they don't. But yeah, certainly to me it sounds reasonable that they could be doing this for a number of reasons. All right, so I want to take some comments from you guys. Just to go back to the situation in Israel for a second. We'll talk about this more. But to repeat on the situation in Israel, it is 3:38 a.m. Israel time. So it is 3:38 a.m. Thursday in Israel, and it's 4:08 in Iran. And later today being Thursday, Israel will take part in these ceasefire talks, which I think are being held in Qatar. And I am not particularly optimistic that those ceasefire talks will lead to much. Those would be ceasefire talks between it and Hamas, even though Hamas is not expected to be physically at the ceasefire talks. But my strong suspicion is that you will not see a Hamas or Iranian attack on Israel before those ceasefire talks. Just because my guess is that Iran and Hezbollah would not want to have people say of them, it'd be too easy for people to say to them, oh, you messed up the ceasefire talks. So they can look like they're interested in peace or something if they wait an extra day or two. And there was reporting, we read you this report in Reuters. It was a Reuters report we read you on the air yesterday, where Iranian officials, Reuters said they had talked to Iranian officials who, one or more of them had suggested to Reuters that, had suggested that Iran would be giving the peace talks a chance, and that and see what happens there before conducting an attack. So, and I believe they said it about Hezbollah too. We read it yesterday, but so we're keeping an eye on that right now, and I'll certainly do some more updating on that situation. We have the camera up from there, but is there a rocket alert? Oh, speaking of it, there's a rocket alert right now. I'm sorry, there is a drone intrusion alert. So let's go over and talk. Let's go over and talk about Israel for a second. There's a drone intrusion alert right as we speak. I just saw a drone intrusion alert. So let's pull this up full screen here for you. We'll turn the volume on. We'll put the camera over. We'll put the clock over in the corner, and I will pull up a map and tell you where that is. Is this thing gonna move with me? Okay, fine. The drone intrusion alert I'm seeing right here. Yes, so you may notice a bunch of alerts when there is a drone intrusion. That tends to set off a lot of alerts at the same time. It doesn't mean there's a lot of drones, but when there is a drone intrusion, it can be the case that a lot of alerts get set off. I think because there's more uncertainty about where the drone is going. So this is in northern Israel. These are in northern Israel, I think. That's the ones I'm seeing so far. Maybe not in this. This is northwestern Israel. The shot you're looking at is northwestern Israel. So it's on the border with Lebanon, but it's possible that the intrusion, I think, is maybe a bit to the east of what this camera is looking at. Sorry, putting the volume up here. So let me try to get you some more information about this alert here. I'll check some different sources here. Give me a moment. Yes. I believe there are 6 alerts, and they are all in northern Israel. Not northern Israel near the Lebanon border. That's where they all are. I'm going to leave the camera up right now, but there's places like Ma'ona, Abrim, Fasuta, Al-Kash, Milia, and Ma'alot Tarshisha. I would assume it's a Hezbollah drone. Hezbollah does regularly launch drones and rockets into northern Israel. I don't know in this case what exactly is going on. Let's see here if I can pull this up for you. So just to give you a sense of what we're looking at here really quick, here's a map. Oops. Here's a map. That's the Israeli-Lebanon border. That's Israel on the bottom, and that's Lebanon on the top. So there's Israel and there's Lebanon. And 2 of the places where there's alarms going off are Milia and Ma'alot Tarshisha. And I think Fasuta is another one too. So it's this area in here, close to the Lebanon border. Oops, I want to do this. Yes, and one of our viewers points out it's close to 4 a.m. there. I'm going to check some of the Telegram channels and see if they're saying anything about this. IDF has posted that sirens are sounding in northern Israel. We just showed you the general area where they are sounding. Let me check some other updates here. These are drone warnings. Are there actually drones, 1 or more, coming over the border? That we don't know. I have not seen updates yet from the different accounts I follow. Hey, a quick thanks to Chapstick for your support, to Wrigley Rob. Looks like Wrigley got timed out, though. Sorry, Wrigley Rob. Looks like you broke the rules. Kelly Smith, thanks for your support, Kelly Smith. Thank you also, Star-Lord. Thanks, Star-Lord, for your support. Is that a plane we're hearing? I can't tell. Or a car. I don't know. Maybe a truck. Star-Lord says he thinks I think it's a he because it says Lord, says it's a big morale boost for Ukraine and a hit to the Russian morale, this incursion into Russia. It's been essentially a David and Goliath situation since the war began, so this shows Russia is not invincible. That's what Star-Lord thinks about the incursion. Thank you also to Ray Sarana and Fair Launch Daily. I haven't heard more about the drone alert. I am looking for more information. Quick thanks also to Eigen Elf for subscribing on Twitch. Yeah, I've yet to see any updates about the situation in northern Israel. Have not heard about any drone interceptions or drones hitting anything or anything like that. Abe thinks it's a false alarm, our viewer Abe. Sometimes they're false alarms, sometimes it happens. But there are a number of drone alerts going on in northern Israel near the Lebanon border right now. Oh. Now, Moshe Schwartz, who I follow, Moshe said he is hearing of initial reports of an interception. I haven't heard those yet, but maybe a drone got shot down. But I cannot confirm that. By the way, another piece of news I just wanted to alert you about is that the Columbia University president, I believe, has resigned. Yes, the Columbia University president has resigned. The New York Times says Columbia University's president has resigned after months of fury at her handling of the Gaza war protests. I'll try to show you something about that. Give me a moment here. Sorry to go back and forth, but we sometimes have to do that with the stories when we're covering multiple things. I'm going to read you, while we're watching the camera. So there are some drone alerts going on in northern Israel now. I don't know if any drones came across from Lebanon. Waiting to find out more. You're looking at a shot from the Lebanon-Israel border, and I haven't heard about any kind of explosions or anything like that, and I'm looking for more information, but I was going to give you information on the Columbia University president as well. So news before Telegram, sorry, what is it? News Before Everyone in Telegram says that they posted a video. I don't have the rights to the video, but they say that there's a video that appears to show something getting shot down. So maybe in northern Israel. So maybe something did get shut down. Shot down, I'm sorry. Again, this account I follow, News Before Everyone in Telegram, which is an Israeli news account, they say that there's a video which appears to show an interception. While we're waiting to hear more about this, let me just read you a little bit from Associated Press about the Columbia University president who resigned. Somewhat related to this because she resigned after complaints about her handling of protests over the Israel-Hamas war. So here's a little of what the Associated Press has to say. The president of Columbia University has resigned effective immediately. She announced tonight. The announcement comes after the school in Upper Manhattan was roiled this year by student protests over the Israel-Hamas war, culminating in a series and scenes of police officers carrying zip ties and riot shields, storming a building that had been occupied by pro-Palestinian protesters. Similar protests swept college campuses nationwide. The president who has resigned, Manoush Shafiq, said in her letter she heralded progress in a number of important areas, but lamented that her tenure had also been a period of turmoil where it had been difficult to overcome divergent views across our community. In her statement, she acknowledged the campus protests factored into her decision to resign. She said, "This period has taken a considerable toll on my family, as it has for others in the community. Over the summer, I have been able to reflect and have decided that my moving on at this point would best enable Columbia to traverse the challenges ahead." In addition to the protests, the school in July, Columbia University in July, removed 3 deans who have since resigned after officials said they exchanged disparaging, that would be like insulting texts, during a campus discussion about Jewish life and anti-Semitism. Shafiq, the president who just resigned, said in a July 8th letter to the school community that the messages were unprofessional and disturbingly touched on ancient anti-Semitic tropes. Shafiq was also among the university leaders called for questioning before Congress earlier this year. She was heavily criticized by Republicans who accused her of not doing enough to combat concerns about anti-Semitism on Columbia's campus. She said in her letter she will return to the UK to lead an effort by the Foreign Secretary's office reviewing the government's approach to international development and how to improve capability. Shafiq was only named president of Columbia last year. and was the first woman to take on the role. So again, the Columbia University president has resigned. If you remember, I know a lot of you probably remember this. I remember us covering it. There were these major pro-Palestinian protests on the campus of Columbia, and Columbia had wanted the protesters to leave the grounds of the school. And hold on a second here. And eventually what happened is pro-Palestinian protesters took over a building on the school campus, and eventually a huge amount of police were called in, and then they they climbed into the building through the windows and cleared out the building. And they also made their way onto campus and they cleared out the protesters. But it was an enormous amount of police. Samantha Oswald says, I remember watching. Maybe if we get a second, we'll talk about her letter. But I wanted to just let you know that actually happened while that story was breaking while we were on the air. May have happened before, but it has started to get more publicity while we're on the air. Okay. Let me just see if I can hear anything more about this rocket alert. Again, there was a hostile aircraft, i.e. drone alert in northern Israel. I saw an unconfirmed report that there may have been an interception of a drone or something. Oh, I'm seeing that the Hot News, which is an Israeli-focused Telegram account I follow, is saying, is this from Homefront Command? They're saying the event is over. So maybe that came from Homefront Command. I don't know. Is this it? Yeah, I'm seeing reports that the event has ended, whatever the event was. Seeing local reports. And it sounds like maybe those people are getting that information from, I don't know if it's, the Homefront Command is in Israel is the government agency responsible for civil defense. So I'm seeing that in multiple places, so I'm wondering if they're just getting that from the government there. Yes, Homefront Command, according to Israel News 24/7, Homefront Command is telling people in Israel that it's further to the report of the activation of a warning about the entry of a hostile aircraft into the skies of Israel, the event has ended. So whatever, again, maybe something got shot down that has not been confirmed yet, but the event has ended in terms of this specific event. So that we know. All right, I might go back and I want to maybe talk about. No, I don't see any new alerts at the moment. I'm not seeing any new alerts at the moment. This is the only camera I have of the Lebanon-Israel border. If we need it, I have a camera of Tel Aviv. If we need it, I have a camera of Jerusalem. If we need it, I have a camera of Haifa. But I also want to go back and talk some more about the situation in Kursk with the Ukraine invasion into Kursk. The Ukraine incursion into Kursk, I think, is a better description of it rather than invasion. Hey, a quick thanks to Chapstick and Arcane Asparagus for your support, and Peanut Brain of the West. And Peanut Brain of the West, I have not seen that report, but I'll be on the lookout for it. Thank you also, Jesse James, for your support. I didn't even get a chance to, I was going to read some of your comments about this whole situation with the Kursk incursion. So let me talk about that again. So I'll do it this way. Hold We'll go back to the deep. We'll go back to deep state map. We'll go back to deep state map. Put that right there. Put that over here. And as I was saying before, we're talking about Ukraine's incursion into Russia. Now, I'm not putting up other cameras right now because we're talking about two things, and I want to be able to talk about Ukraine. And if I start putting up too many cameras, it's going to just be, the whole broadcast is going to be me moving around cameras and removing cameras and adding cameras. So if there's something going on in the cameras, I will put them up. But it's just too much to do if I'm talking about two different topics and putting up different cameras. So I will keep an eye on them. If there's anything to see, I will certainly put them on the air. Let's see here. So again, this is a deep state map, which is, why am I missing? Oh, sorry, you can't see what I'm seeing because I did this. There you go. Deep state map at deepstatemap.live. You are looking at, hold on a second here. Hold on a moment. Here we go. Okay. So there is Ukraine. The red is Russian-occupied Ukraine. And this blue area up here may not be exact at the moment, but this blue area is the area where believed, at least according to Deep State Map, they're confident that Ukraine controls this territory, which is in Kursk, Russia. This is the biggest attack on Russia since World War II. This is Russia. This is in Russia. The incursion into Russia by Ukraine is moving into its second week. And as I was mentioning, just about 4 or 5 hours ago, I believe, around midnight Russia time, the governor of Kursk region, this is Kursk region in here where it says Kursk Oblast, Kursk region. The governor of Kursk region, shortly before midnight local time, announced that this whole area near the border of where 20,000 people live is now being evacuated. You see it says Glushkovo here. The district would be the Glushkovsky district, which is on the border in this area with Ukraine, with 20,000 people living there, is being evacuated. So that is going on. Okay, so I want to give you an update about that as well, and also take some comments from you guys on that. I haven't even gotten to check if there's more updates on that as we've been talking. No, I don't have live Ukraine, Kursk, Russia cameras. I haven't even gotten to check my comments yet. Hold on, just hang on a second. Give me a moment here. There's too much to check. Ryan Bond, our viewer, says, do you think Ukraine could be seeking this land grab in order to have a bargaining chip in peace talks? Some people think that's what they want, is to trade the land. Not sure if any are coming up after Putin pulled out of the talks in November. I'm not aware of any like big new talks that are coming up, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong about that. But there very well could be some exchanges in the future. But it's not clear exactly what Ukraine hopes to get out of this. There's a bunch of theories about what they want. Big time, our viewer thinks it's a bad look on Putin having foreign forces invading Russia for the first time since World War II. Let's see here. Oops. I might have to refresh that video. Hold on a second. Hang on a moment. Oh, I think we're all right there. Thanks, Wrigley Rob, but Wrigley Rob is breaking rules again in the chat, unfortunately. The Lebanon border camera is kind of, it's kind of, hold on a second. They're having an issue with it. Is it back? I'll give it a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Moshe mentioned to me, Moshe Schwartz, that his sources told him there was an interception. And Moshe posted a video of an interception. I'll show you the video that Moshe posted. There's a couple videos that claim to be interceptions of possibly a drone. We heard a drone alert, multiple drone alerts like 25 minutes ago in Israel. And now the event is over, but there may have been an interception. I will post possible interception video. I don't own the video, but I'll post the link to it in the chat, and you can go look at it yourself. You can look at it yourself. Oh, it just posted. Okay. Thank you, Moshe. Oh, Ariel said channel 14. Channel 14 there, Ariel said a source said an interception was observed. That's what Ariel says. Sounds like maybe a drone was shot down. Maybe we'll hear something about it from IDF in the coming minutes. Let me also do a quick check on Ukraine updates. Meanwhile, I'll throw the camera up. While you're waiting, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. While I'm checking a couple things here, I'll throw the Lebanon border camera back up so you can look at that while I'm checking a couple things. Kind of confusing with the multiple topics, but there's that camera. All right. I do have another article I want to show you about Ukraine. Here. I want to show you an article. This is, I think, a helpful little summary article on Associated Press right now about the Ukraine incursion into Kursk, Russia. So I wanted to show you that. Let's look at that for a second. So I'm going to make this screen small again so I can show you the other thing. Okay, so we make this smaller. We put this over here. Trying my best. Trying my best. There, we'll put that there. Move, oops. Then we'll take this. We'll move this up. Done. Okay, good. Oh, thank you to Blue Ridge 28. I appreciate it, Blue Ridge 28, and also Christinator. Thank you, Christinator. Shout out to our moderators, too. Really, really appreciate all of our moderators over there on YouTube. Jessica S. and Ruth Krafasi and Cynthia Moon all moderating there. And we also have Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. And on Twitch, we have our moderators there like Bash and Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, I Got That Fire, Mick Britches, Papa Bear, and Surly Dev. And thanks also Big Ball of Yarn for the bits, and thanks to Ikalwit9 for the bits on Twitch. Thank you. And thanks to our Facebook mods like Kay Lowry Body over there. Thank you, Kay, for modding. Ronald Egnor and all of our other mods over on Facebook. So let's take a little look at this, kind of a helpful summary article here from the Associated Press. What we know about Ukraine's surprise push into Russian territory. This is the second week of it. It's still going. For more than a week, Ukrainian troops have pushed into the Kursk region of Russia just north of their border in the most extensive incursion by Ukraine's forces in the 2.5-year-old war. The advance has showed significant weaknesses in Russia's border defense and embarrassed the Kremlin. How can they just let them come across the border? And now well over 100,000 people have had to be evacuated by Russia. I mean, that's a lot of people. Where and when did the attack begin? The surprise attack by Ukrainian troops in tanks and other armored vehicles began August 6th and came from several directions into Russia's Kursk region. Although Russia had seen previous incursions of its territory in the war, the Kursk raid is notable for its size, speed, and the reported involvement of the battle-hardened Ukrainian brigades and the length of time they have stayed inside Russia. As many as 10,000 Ukrainian troops are involved, according to Western military analysts. It's the first time foreign troops have invaded and held the territory. It's the first time foreign troops have invaded and held territory in Russia since Nazi Germany did it in World War II against the Soviet Union. This month's stunning attack met little resistance at the Russian border. Although the Kursk region has been subject to Ukrainian drone attacks, the border was relatively lightly guarded, mostly by poorly trained conscripts and National Guard units. More than 120,000 residents have been evacuated, according to Russian officials. I believe that's something that Institute for the Study of War talks about, too. I'll have to check that. But the idea that the troops who were on the border there were not the best Russian troops. So something to keep in mind. Ukraine hid its preparations for the attack. It also did not inform its supporters like the U.S. or Poland of its plan, according to leaders of those countries. U.S. officials have not objected to the use of American-donated weapons in the Kursk region. Some of you guys might have seen this, but I've also seen some reporting, and I'm sorry, I forget exactly where. There's been articles, I believe, talking about this, where like soldiers who participated in this were, I think some of them might have been pulled off their units elsewhere like a day before, and officers who participated in this were like told just like a couple days before. Like many people who participated in this were not given an advance heads up. It's not like everybody involved in it was planning this for months. They clearly were trying to keep a very small number of people in the loop for as long as they could to keep the secrecy up. What is the situation now? Ukraine's military claims to hold 74 towns and settlements in the area encompassing about 400 square miles of territory. It said its troops took more than 100 Russian soldiers prisoner and destroyed a Russian Su-34 jet used to bomb Ukrainian frontline positions in cities. The Russian Defense Ministry reports clashes with Ukrainian forces near settlements about 15 miles from the border. A Russian commander claims fighting is continuing in Sudza, the administrative center of the incursion area about 6 miles from the border. No independently confirmed casualty figures for either side are available. Russia has been slow to send in enough reinforcements to turn back the Ukrainian advance. It has launched air and rocket strikes along with artillery fire. By the way, the next section says, what are Ukraine's goals? I forgot to mention this before. Rob Lee, who is a very knowledgeable military expert who has been focusing on this Ukraine-Russia conflict, something he posted in the last couple of days was the idea that Ukraine, in theory, could be using this incursion to get special forces into Russia that could then conduct surprise attacks in Russia. It was an interesting theory. Let's see if I can just find this mention of it. He had posted about it. I think somebody replied to him, and he said that he thought that's something that could be the case. Rob Lee on X. Let's see, can I find it here? Yes. So Rob Lee, somebody named Andrea's gal had responded to Rob Lee on X and said Ukraine could use this assault to sneak significant special forces into Russia, attacking targets deeply in the rear. And Rob Lee says, yes, that's one benefit. So maybe that's something else that's going on with this incursion. What are Ukraine's goals? We'll just finish this article and take some comments from you. What are Ukraine's goals? Ukrainian officials say it wants to establish a buffer zone to inhibit shelling of its territory from the Kursk region. President Zelensky says Ukraine has been shelled by Russia more than 2,000 times from the area this summer. The operation also could be aimed at siphoning Russian troops from battles in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, where Moscow has been making slow but steady advances. The operation also demonstrates Ukraine's determined resistance against a much larger Russian army. Zelensky advisor Mikhailo Podolyak suggested the push into Russian territory could strengthen Ukraine's hand in any eventual negotiations to end the war. Like one of our viewers said, they could maybe use that territory they've taken to exchange for other territory. I don't know if they'll try to. I've also seen analysts say this is a great thing for Ukrainian morale. What has been the response by Russia? Associated Press says there appears to be a strong sense of shock in Russia over the speed and size of Ukraine's operation, which has heightened weaknesses in protecting the country which has highlighted weaknesses in protecting the country and shattered the Kremlin's narrative that Russia has largely been unscathed by the war. President Putin denounced the raid as a large-scale provocation and conducted nationally televised meetings with top security officials for reports on the operation. Russia has redeployed some troops to Kursk from the strategically significant region near Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv. Russia is unlikely to pull entire fighting units from eastern Ukraine, but could redirect troops that were meant to reinforce the front lines in Donetsk, according to the Institute for the Study of War Analytic Group. So I'll show you the ISW report on this, but I do want to take some of your comments and questions on the situation in Kursk. And speaking of Institute for the Study of War, that's the Institute for the Study of War, ISW. They're at understandingwar.org. And they have been posting daily updates both about the Russia-Ukraine stuff and about the Israel-Iran stuff. So here is some of what I'll read some of this in a second, but they actually have a map here that you can go look at. I'm going to post a link to this map. Right, I'm going to post a link to this report. This is their August 13th Russian offensive campaign assessment. I don't know if they have another one from today, but you can see this is a close-up of the border, and they have an analysis of where they believe claimed limit of Ukrainian advances. But what I'll do right now is I'll post a link to that page in the chat so you can go and check it out. ISW article. And that other map I showed you is Deep State map, which is at Deep State. Oh, I have to look that up. I'll tell you in a second. The Deep State map, which is a good Ukraine map, is deepstatemap.live. Deepstatemap.live. It's a regularly updated map. The map has different options that you can put on and stuff. And I think you can make it like settings. I can do satellite here. There's a topographical map and all that stuff. Deep State map. Yeah, there's lots of different options. Let me take some more comments from you guys. Knox Corvus says, messy situation. P51 F144, our viewer, says that Ukraine has to take ground, so when peace talks start, Russia gives back stuff and they give back stuff. That's true. I think Zelensky has already said that they plan on trading prisoners they've taken some Russian prisoners in this operation, and they're planning on trading those back for Ukrainian prisoners. Not John's alt. I don't know when the Iran and Hezbollah attack that's being awaited on Israel will be. As I had mentioned earlier, I don't think they're going to attack before the ceasefire talks, which are taking place just in a matter of hours. It's already 4 a.m. Israel time, Thursday. Those ceasefire talks are scheduled for Thursday in the Middle East. Berry says the people of Russia will rally behind their government and their military. Hold on a second here. Clyde Digital says, I think if you want to sneak special forces into Russia, you'd find a quieter way to do it than an invasion. Well, the point is that there could be multiple reasons why Ukraine is doing this. So that doesn't mean it's their only reason or their main reason to do it. But if you control, the idea is if you control this territory in Russia, that is a way to get people into the country. And I'm guessing a bunch of the places that the Ukrainian troops are now are not very. They're clearly not surrounded in Russia by a long line of closely spaced Russian troops. Detra Ed says they need to do a peace treaty, but I don't know if she's talking about Ukraine or Russia or both. Our viewer says there is a video of Russia shooting up a convoy. So I believe you can find videos of you definitely can find video of Ukraine. For example, there is a widely there's some widely passed around video of a convoy that Ukraine apparently destroyed in Kursk region with about a little over a dozen Russian trucks. That a lot of them were carrying Russian soldiers, and numerous analysts believe that many Russian soldiers were killed in that ambush of that convoy. But you can find videos floating around which do appear to show Russia hitting vehicles, Ukrainian vehicles in Kursk and that kind of thing. I can't specifically say what's going on there. It's been notoriously difficult to really follow what's going on there. For example, this map here from Institute of Study of War, it says claimed limit of advance on it. At the bottom, it says claimed limit of advance, not all confirmed. So sometimes there's videos, you'll see a video that might show some Ukrainian forces somewhere, but does that mean they're in control there? That could just be a small scout group or something like that. So it's been hard to get a real handle for experts on what exactly is going on day to day in this Kursk incursion. And as I said, the Ukraine government is being really tight-lipped about it for understandable reasons. Hey, thanks to PA Outdoors for the gift memberships. I appreciate that very much. Also, thanks to our new member, Edward Spain, and our member, Sven Hoek. Okay, let's see here. Let me check a couple things. While I'm checking a couple things, I'm going to show you I'm going to make the, oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to make the Israel camera full screen. So you can keep an eye on that for a second. I anticipate that after my guess with these ceasefire talks, I may be wrong, but my guess with the ceasefire talks is, I don't know, they'll take a day or two, and then it'll be clear there's no imminent ceasefire deal. And then at that point, it'll be like, okay, when are we going to see an attack by Hezbollah or Iran? And I don't know if Hezbollah or Iran will say, well, you can expect us to attack really soon. They might just do it. So, this is sort of this kind of normally, when we've been on the air, I was like, an attack could really happen at any time. And I guess in theory, attack could happen now. But I really think that Hezbollah and Iran will at least hold off until the ceasefire talks happen today. By today, I mean Thursday. But I may be wrong. Who knows? So I anticipate doing certainly more of the coverage where we're covering, Israel waiting for this attack to come. Turn a little volume up there. Our viewer Justin Woodward wrote in about the Ukraine incursion into Kursk, and Justin said, the incursion is so big that not even Putin can sanitize it for domestic consumption. Bad looks for a strong man. Dave Kochansky said, how can ceasefire talks happen when Hamas won't be there? So the New York Times actually talked about that in an article yesterday. And they talked about how, yes, they won't be there in person, but they can get updates from people who are there. Let me see if I can find that for you so I can give you a little better idea of what they were saying in the article. See if I can find what it was saying yesterday. Yeah, so something the New York Times reported yesterday is they said that, first of all, Hamas has not been meeting face-to-face with, Hamas representatives have not been meeting face-to-face with Israeli representatives since the war started. And what they said is that Hamas has been relying on Egypt and Qatar to carry proposals back and forth to them. And Egypt and Qatar representatives are going to be at the ceasefire talks. Also, they say that many Hamas political leaders are based in Qatar, right near where the Qatari mediators are. So the idea is that, yeah, they won't physically be there, but they will be able to communicate with the Qataris and Egyptians who are there and talk to them and do negotiating through them. So it's a good question our viewer asked, but that would be the response. Thank you to PZ Papa Zulu for the gift memberships. Very kind of you, PZ Papa Zulu. Oh, guys, there's a new update from the Institute for the Study of War about the Russian situation. So we should check that out. We should check that out. If you want, I can show you briefly the... Can I pull up the Tel Aviv camera here? Hang on. Let's see. Let's see. If I lose that, no, I don't want to lose that. I have to fix this all later. Let's try this again. Why am I not seeing anything here? I'm pulling up the Tel Aviv. There it is. That's the Tel Aviv camera right there. That's not the Israel-Lebanon border. That is the Tel Aviv camera. Quiet on that camera right now. It's there if I need it. Kay says it's a beautiful city. Again, that's Tel Aviv. That is not the Israel-Lebanon border. The other shot is of the Israel-Lebanon border. Thanks to Controller Zen for your kind words. All right, let's take a peek at the, hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. Let me show you this here. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. It's too loud. Too loud. For when I'm showing you something else. All right, what am I doing? Hold on. I got to get this organized here. We'll put this. Everything's such a mess. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Hold on. There we go. Make this like this. Put this over here. Is this even going to work? This is not going to work. Maybe we'll put it up here for now. Just for the moment, we'll put this up here. Okay. This is from the Institute for the Study of War. It's their Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Peanut Brain of the West believes that there are a couple of highways closed that lead to Moscow. That may be true. I have not seen that yet. I'm not saying it's not true. So maybe I can look. I haven't seen that report. Maybe if I get a second, I'll look it up. Peanut Brain of the West. So all I'm saying is I don't know. I haven't heard it. But I'm not saying it's not true. Moscow is 300 miles away, approximately, from where the incursion is going on. Just to be clear. Moscow is about 300 miles from the incursion. Thank you, Peanut Brain of the West. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about this. I really like this site, Institute for the Study of War. They post daily military analyses of different conflicts going on, in this case, of the Russia-Ukraine situation. So I'm not going to read every single word, but I'll give you a sense of. We'll take a look at some of the stuff, and I'll also post a link to it so you can get the article yourself. Let me do that. And before I do that, do this. Okay. So I'm going to post a link to the article. And I'll say ISW article. See what they have to say. Hold on a moment here. Waltham says, great articles on ISW. So I'm not going to read every single word, but let's just kind of go over here some of this. This is bugging me with this. I think I want to maybe move this to the side. Maybe I'll just move this. I'm going to make this a little smaller here, just to do it. I know it's small right now. Let me put it right down there. I know it's small, but if anything happens, we can make it bigger very easily. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Russian millie bloggers claimed that Ukrainian forces marginally advanced in Kursk region amid a generally slower tempo of Ukrainian operations as Russian forces continue attempts to stabilize the front line in the area. So Ukrainian forces are not moving as fast in Kursk region as they were originally. And then in the article, they'll talk about some specifics backing up that general claim. let's see. I don't know if I want to get into all the specifics here. Let me just take a quick peek and see what they're saying. Just do this too. What is this? Okay. Russian milibloggers claim that Russian forces are gradually stabling the front line in Kursk, and that unspecified Russian reinforcements are arriving from unspecified areas and are establishing communications with Russian units already in the area. So you might say, like, why are they quoting Russian military bloggers? Well, so there are certain accounts that focus on Russian military stuff, Russian accounts. There are certain Russian accounts that are seen as reliable generally on what they say about what's going on the ground with the military. So that it's not like it's like state newspaper or something like that. So that's why they look to those accounts and quote them here. Let's see, blah 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 blah. These are just a lot of different specifics about different locations, what's going on there. Okay. Ukrainian officials continue to discuss ongoing Ukrainian operations in Kursk region and offer their interpretations of the political impact Ukraine may aim to generate. President Zelensky held a meeting with Ukrainian officials. Blah, 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 blah. One Ukrainian official in the meeting said that Ukrainian forces formed a buffer sanitary zone in Kursk Oblast for self-defense purposes. Zelensky similarly said that Ukraine is focusing on the Kursk border area to ensure the safety of Ukraine's borders with Russia, echoing prior statements made by Ukrainian officials highlighting that Ukraine has the right to defend itself from Russian aggression. An advisor to Zelensky said in an interview that Ukraine's main political goals of the ongoing Kursk operation are to push Russian artillery away from areas from which Russian forces can target Ukrainian civilians, to interdict, that's like cut off, I believe, Russian logistics lines that interdict, I think that's interdict, right? Interdict, I bet it is. Interdict, an authoritative prohibition. Interdict. So they are looking to interdict Russian logistics lines that allow Russian forces to supply reserves throughout the entire theater, to bring domestic and international attention to Russia's civil and military leadership failures, and to bring the war directly to Russian territory. Some of the reasons a Ukrainian official gave for this incursion. Ongoing Ukrainian operations in Kursk region are generating tangible defensive, logistical, and security impacts within Russia. So, for example, commercially available satellite imagery shows a newly dug series of field fortifications, including trenches and anti-vehicle ditches in Kursk region. These new fortifications that apparently Russia is setting up are about roughly 17 kilometers north of the furthest claim limit of Ukrainian advances in Kursk, which suggests that Russian forces are concerned about potential continued and rapid Russian forces are concerned about potential continued and rapid Ukrainian mechanized northward advances within Kursk region. Russian forces appear particularly concerned about major highways and are likely trying to preemptively safeguard important ground lines of communication to inhibit Ukrainian maneuver, particularly along the E38 and 38K routes. Ukrainian operations in Kursk region are also reportedly impacting Russian railway logistics. The Belarusian Russian railway workers community claimed its internal sources are reporting that Russian state-owned railway company, Russian Railways informed, this is a long sentence, informed Belarusian state railway company, Belarusian Railways to stop directing trains from all Belarusian railway stations to stations, blah, 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 blah. All right, anyways. Due to a large-scale operational transfer of troops in the direction of Kursk Oblast. So it's affecting their trains and what they're using their trains for is a simple way of saying it. Let's see here. The governor of Belgorod, which is the next region over from Kursk, also announced a state of emergency in Belgorod, which will allow Belgorod region authorities the power to restrict movement within emergency areas, likely either to secure Russian logistical support for Belgorod region border areas or Russian defensive measures within Kursk region. The Russian government continues recruitment efforts to support operations in Kursk region. Okay. Chechen Akhmat Spetsnaz commander Abdi Aludinov seems to be posturing himself as the spokesperson for the Russian defense in Kursk region, but his claims have consistently been false and largely contradict claims made by relatively reliable Russian Mila bloggers. Ukrainian forces conducted a large series of drone strikes against Russian air bases in Russia on the night of August 13th to 14th, damaging several airfields. We talked about that a bit before. ISW cannot independently verify the results of the Ukrainian strikes at the time. I'm guessing satellite footage might come out, which will show more about those strikes. Okay, anyways. If you want to, I'll post a link to this article again. There's lots of specifics in this article, specific reports about what's going on, and they have footnotes where you can see what their sources are. And then they also have an update on the general situation, not just in Kursk region, but the general situation going on with Ukraine and Russia. So they put out these reports pretty much every day, I believe. So I'm going to, again, post this link to the Institute for the Study of War article. It's a great site, understandingwar.org, that if you like military analysis, you should check out. Okay, I just posted a link to that. Thank you, Bucci. Bucci says, with Hamas absent, any chance Iran could target the peace talks? No, there is zero chance Iran would target the peace talks. That would gain it no military benefit, and yet gain it the ill will and possible strikes on it of many countries in the world, including the U.S. So no, they will not be talking. They will not be targeting the peace talks. You have to think in terms of costs and benefits, and it would be very low benefit and very high cost. So that would not be a good decision for them, and I think they would know that. But hey, Bucci, Bucci, I appreciate your support. I just have to be, give my honest evaluation. I assume you wanted my honest evaluation of your proposal. Now, if there was, that's not to say, who knows, to get back at Israel for conducting an assassination of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. That's not to say that Iran couldn't do some act of terrorism somewhere on some Israeli target somewhere. I don't know what they're going to do. They may just launch a bunch of rockets, a bunch of drones and missiles like they did in April. But maybe they would try to do something else. So, that remains to be seen. But the peace talks are not just Israelis there. There's Israelis, Americans, Egyptians, people from Qatar. I think there might be Hamas. There might be. Maybe Iranian. There's actually, I think, possibly Iranian observers will be there as well. Jesse James thinks Iran is about to get a rude wake-up call. Hold on a moment here. Let's make this bigger now for you. Trying to give you some coverage of two things at once. It's not the easiest thing, but I'm doing my best. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Turn up a little volume here. And hang on a moment. Oh, I wanted to show, speaking of the peace talks, I wanted to show you something about that. Speaking of the peace talks, or the ceasefire talks. Thank you, by the way, to Jesus UCSB, who says Slava Ukraini. Thanks for your support, Jesus. Let's see here. So I wanted to show you this. Oh, thanks Anaconda3420 for subscribing on Twitch. So check it out. We have this article. Oops, you can't see it. You'll see it in a second. Top Hamas official says group is losing faith in U.S. as mediator in Gaza ceasefire talks. That doesn't sound promising. Let me show you this for a second, but to do that, now I got to move this again. Now I got to move this again. A lot of moving things around on this stream. Well, I want you to be able to see things. A top Hamas official, says AP, said the Palestinian militant group is losing faith in the U.S.'s ability to mediate a ceasefire in Gaza ahead of a new round of talks scheduled for actually Thursday, amid mounting pressure to bring an end to the 1-month-old war with Israel. Osama Hamdan, who is in the picture there, that's Osama, sorry, you can't see that there. There is Osama Hamdan, Hamas political, hold on. There is Osama Hamdan, Hamas political official. Osama Hamdan told the AP in an interview that Hamas will only participate if the talks focus on implementing a proposal detailed by U.S. President Biden in May and endorsed internationally. The U.S. referred to it as an Israeli proposal, and Hamas agreed to it in principle, but Israel said Biden's speech was not entirely consistent with the proposal itself. Both sides later proposed changes, leading each to accuse the other of obstructing a deal. Hamas is especially resistant to Israel's demand that it maintain a lasting military presence, that Israel maintain a lasting military presence in 2 strategic areas of Gaza after any ceasefire, conditions only made public in recent weeks. By the way, you know, just to say this, you hear about these different things they're arguing over and these different conditions. My view on the ceasefire is that if they both wanted a ceasefire, we'd have a ceasefire already. And it's certainly possible, I don't know for sure, but it's certainly possible that when they argue over some specific condition, if they weren't arguing over that, they would just find something else to argue about. I mean, if somebody doesn't want to agree to something, they can find something to argue about. So I don't, you know, when you get into these specifics, I'm not really sure that these specific issues are really the problem. There might be a greater problem, which is that one or both of them just doesn't want a ceasefire. So just I like to just throw that out there when you get talk of these specifics. Anyways, the Hamas official said, we have informed the mediators that any meeting should be based on talking about implementing mechanisms and setting deadlines rather than negotiating something new, he said. Otherwise, Hamas finds no reason to participate. It was not clear tonight if Hamas would attend the talks beginning tomorrow. There is a new push to end the war sparked by, okay, fine. There are now fears that the war could ignite a wider conflagration. Let's see. All right, I don't want to get hung up on this too much here. Let's see. Yeah, this gets into kind of details about negotiations, and I don't really want to get into that right now. Just as a little reminder, negotiations have taken on a new urgency as the war has threatened to ignite a regional conflict. Iran and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah are mulling retaliatory strikes against Israel. Well, they've actually said, they have both said, the leaders of both of those the leader of the country of Iran and the leader of the paramilitary group / political party Hezbollah, which is supported by Iran, both of the leaders have said they are going to retaliate against Israel, just to be clear. So, but Iran and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, I would change this to are on the record as saying they will respond to Israel after the killings of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran and the killing by Israel of a top Hezbollah commander Fuad Shakir in Beirut. Israel claimed the latter strike but has neither confirmed nor denied its role in the blast that killed Haniyeh, but it's widely believed they did it. Okay. Around 110 hostages remain in Gaza, about a third of them believed to be dead. Okay. Talking about Ismail Haniyeh. Ismail Haniyeh was killed with Hamas and Iran blaming Israel. He was killed when he was a guest of Iran in Iran for the new Iranian president's inauguration. Fine. All right. Let me ask you a poll question. I'm going to say to you guys, will any agreement come out of, or how about this? Will the ceasefire talks prevent an Iranian attack on Israel? How's that? Yes or no? That's all. That's the simple question. Will the ceasefire talks prevent an Iranian attack on Israel? Let's see what you have to say. I'm going to put up what, by the way, first of all, I'll make this bigger. No, not that. I don't want to make that bigger. I want to make this one bigger. Make this one bigger. Okay, there you go. Let's see what our viewers have to say as I turn up the volume a little bit here. I don't know what time the talks start. It's almost 5 a.m. in Israel right now. And I believe the talks are in Doha, Qatar, and it's the same time zone there. It's the same time there as in Israel. Let me check here. Okay, our YouTube viewers, will the ceasefire talks prevent an Iranian attack on Israel? 21% say yes, and 79% say no. 21% of you think the ceasefire talks will prevent an Iranian attack on Israel. Okay, and then on Twitch, let's check this out. What are people saying over there? Um, 17% say yes and 83% say no. So the vast majority of you think that these ceasefire talks will not prevent an Iranian attack on Israel. Thanks, by the way, to Geraldine Friedrich for your support. I really appreciate that, Geraldine Friedrich, and also Crypto Talk with Mr. Davis. Thank you. And our member, You Rock. And also Tie Shoes. Tie Shoes says, is Hamas really in a position to negotiate much? Well, one thing they have, which Israel really wants, is those hostages. That is a huge thing in Israel. It is a huge thing in Israel wanting to get the hostages back. So yes, they are in a position to negotiate because they have all these Israeli hostages. Also, at a certain point, they're in a position to negotiate because, like, Israel and some others, like Israel's allies, would much prefer to have Hamas agree to not keep ruling Gaza, rather than insisting they are the rulers of Gaza and fighting for that. So, you know, you can't expect a peaceful, orderly Gaza if Hamas says they're in charge and they're wielding a bunch of influence, and they're fighting. You know, they're fighting Israeli soldiers, and you know, like if Israel and some other countries try to like create some multinational force to go into Gaza to kind of take over, but Hamas hasn't agreed to that, and there's still a bunch of Hamas fighters hidden in Gaza, that'll be a messy situation. So, you know, I think Israel would like to get its hostages back. I think Israel and its allies and a number of countries would like to have things settle down in Gaza, and maybe Hamas agrees to, you know, I don't know if anybody is reaching out to Hamas and saying like, you know, hey Hamas, all the big Hamas people, and maybe anybody in Hamas, you can leave and go to this other country if you want. Just leave, go to this other country, live there, just go away. I don't think Hamas will do that, but you know, that would be something where Israel, the U.S., probably a bunch of Middle Eastern countries, would also, a lot of countries would like something like that to happen, because you know, you wouldn't have as much fighting there, and maybe the reconstruction could begin in Gaza. But this is it is the way it is right now in Gaza is obviously a terrible situation. And it's obviously not a stable situation. And it's not a recipe for, you can't have reconstruction, you can't be rebuilding in Gaza if there's violence and disorder and it's not even clear who's in charge, for example. So there's good reasons to want to reach some kind of deal with Hamas. Whether a deal with Hamas can be reached, who knows? And I am certainly not an expert on the situation, but I think it's pretty obvious that, let me just get rid of these things here, these polls. I think it's pretty obvious that if there were a scenario where Hamas agreed to just not be in power and return the hostages and leave in exchange for some, I don't know, let's just throw this out. There's probably no chance of this happening, but the Hamas agrees to not be in power and a bunch of them get amnesty and leave and go to some other country. You can see why that would be a more stable situation for reconstructing Gaza than if there's no agreement. I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying, you know, the question was, is Hamas in a position to negotiate? And I'm just trying to suggest some ways in which the other side negotiating with Hamas would be able to benefit from certain things Hamas might do and agree to. That's all I was trying to suggest. Zing Dingaling says there'd be nobody left to stop Israel from pushing out the remaining Palestinians out of Gaza. Well, one idea that's been discussed is not having Hamas rule Gaza, of having some kind of multinational force, well, not just, you know, with including, for example, the Palestinian Authority, although supposedly they're not like that much in Gaza, but you could have a combination of, like, you know, other Arab countries. So you wouldn't have Israeli forces overseeing things in Gaza, but that would not be the plan. Remember, though, the Gaza housing situation. We talked about this yesterday, I think it was. Yes. So there's an AP article from May which says that the UN said that the world hasn't seen anything like the destruction of housing in Gaza since World War II, and it would take at least until 2040 to restore the homes devastated in the war if the conflict ended today. And that was in May, and that was from according to AP, that's what the United Nations said. That it would take until at least 2040 if the war were to have ended even in May. So that is the amount, the task of reconstruction that has to happen there. It is just devastated, and about over 2 million people live there. But also, no one is going to want to invest in reconstructing Gaza unless there is stability there. If you have constant fighting, if you have Hamas established there still, and Israel is still conducting Israel airstrikes and having their army having to go in and do raids, who's going to want to rebuild anything there? No one's going to start wanting to build new apartment buildings there at this point. Melissa Terry says, I bet longer than that. Diane Allworth thinks the reconstruction of Palestine cannot happen with Hamas. Hold on a second here. Our viewer Kay Crimlin says Hamas is not something that goes away, it is an ideology. Tedestrial says it would probably take even longer if they built something better than what they had. Give me one moment here. I'm just checking a couple things. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. We should. I saw this article. This is a new article too, and this just came out today. I want to mention this because we've been talking about this kind of thing. So let me show you this real quick. If you're joining the stream late, we spent a bunch of time on the first part of the stream talking about the situation with Ukraine, the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk, Russia. So if you're looking for that, you can rewind the stream and saw that, because we talked about that a bunch. And now we're talking about some of we're talking about, well, we've been talking about the Iran-Israel crisis, but we got talking about the Gaza situation because the ceasefire talks between in theory between Israel and Hamas are starting in just hours. And what I was saying is there's some reporting suggesting that Hamas and Iran would hold off on any attack of Israel until they see how the ceasefire talks go. So we've been talking a bit about the ceasefire talks. Now, that being said, there's an article here from AP that says a new round of Gaza ceasefire talks is starting. Why is the deal so elusive? So I want to mention this, but something I also want to just show you real quick is this here, where you see that picture there. That's a picture from AP. Palestinians displaced. I actually want to get that. I want to blow that. I want to get the full. I want to download that picture for you and show you it full screen, because I think it's helpful to see. Give me a moment. Let's do this. Let's download that photo, and I'll put it on the screen for you, so you can see how people are living there. Let's see. Download this. Let's see if that worked. Oh, here it is. So here, the photo caption is Palestinians displaced by the Israeli air and ground offensive on the Gaza Strip flee from Hamad City following an evacuation order by the Israeli army to leave parts of the southern area of Khan Yunis. So look at this. That is from Associated Press. And then I don't know that people are living in those big buildings back there. It certainly looks like there's a lot of damage to them. I mean, and look at these buildings here. Look at this. So people just, live out in tents and makeshift shelters and whatever. It's really terrible. All right, so that being said, Zev says literal piles of rubble. Ray Kitchen says Hamas's fault. Flanillan says looks like rubble to me. And then Egadis says all those buildings were clearly Hamas, huh? Ridiculous. V2CX says looks like an AI pic. So let's just talk about this a little bit. AP says international mediators are hoping to restart stalled ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas with a new round of talks meant to finally clinch a deal between the sides. Oh, let me put the I just want to put the camera up on the screen so you can see it there. The Israel-Lebanon border camera there. Okay. So, but the chances of a breakthrough appear slim. The new talks are set to begin Thursday, but Israel and Hamas have been mulling an internationally backed proposal for more than 2 months that would wind down the 10-month-long war and free the roughly 110 hostages still held in Gaza. The indirect talks have not advanced substantively during that time, and sticking points remain. New terms put forward have complicated progress, and Hamas has yet to say outright whether it will even participate in the new round of talks. Meanwhile, the fighting in Gaza rages on, the hostages continue to languish in captivity, and fears of an all-out regional war involving Iran and one of its regional proxies, Hezbollah, have surged. The killing of Hamas's top leader in Tehran and an apparent Israeli attack further plunged the talks into uncertainty. So let's look over. Here's the proposed ceasefire deal and why the talks have stalled. Okay, President Biden detailed what he said was an Israeli ceasefire proposal, calling it a roadmap. Fine. The original proposal involved 3 phases. The first would last for 6 weeks and include a full and complete ceasefire, and a withdrawal of Israeli forces from all densely populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, and the wounded, in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Palestinian civilians would be able to return to their homes and humanitarian aid would be increased. The two sides would use that 6-week period to negotiate an agreement on the second phase, which Biden said would include the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers, and Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza. The temporary ceasefire would become permanent. The third phase would kick off a major reconstruction of Gaza, which faces decades of rebuilding from the devastation caused by the war. What are the sticking points? Even though Biden threw his weight behind the proposal, it has not led to a breakthrough, and the sides appear to have grown further apart in the weeks since. Israel has been wary of the plan's provision that the initial ceasefire would be extended as long as negotiations continued over the second phase. Israel seems concerned that Hamas would drag on endlessly with fruitless negotiations just to keep the ceasefire going. Hamas has appeared concerned that Israel would resume the war once its most vulnerable hostages were returned, a scenario reflected in some of Prime Minister Netanyahu's recent comments. Israel could also make demands during this stage of negotiations that were not part of the initial deal and would be unacceptable to Hamas, and then resume the war when Hamas refuses them. Israel also has added additional demands to the initial proposal in recent weeks, including, according to 2 Egyptian officials with knowledge of the talks. In a statement Tuesday, Netanyahu's office denied this, calling the additional terms essential clarifications. The Egyptian officials said Israel seeks to maintain control of a strip of land along Gaza's border with Egypt, known as the Philadelphia Corridor. Israel believes Hamas uses the area to smuggle in weapons through underground tunnels, which Egypt denies. Israel also wants to maintain forces along an east-west route that cuts across Gaza so they can weed out any militants crossing to the territory's north. Netanyahu's office has said Israel wants some way to ensure this, but it denied accusations that this was an additional condition. Hamas has rejected the idea, saying Israel would use it as a pretext to prevent Palestinians from returning to their homes. The Egyptian officials in Netanyahu's office said Israel also wants veto power over the Palestinian prisoners who would be freed. Hamas refuses to compromise on the issue, they said. Israel also wants a list of the hostages who are still alive. Another condition rejected by Hamas, according to the officials, who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they weren't allowed to discuss the sensitive talks with the media. So, even in that section there, you can see there's all these different things for them to argue about, right? Just from that one section. As I said before, I feel like if they both wanted a deal, they both would figure it out. But if you don't want a deal, you can find all kinds of things to object to. And I bet you can get way more specific than that. All right, let me just read the last section of the article. What else is complicating progress? The talks were further thrown into disarray last month when a blast killed basically the head Hamas negotiator, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, while he was in Tehran for the Iranian president's inauguration. The attack was widely blamed on Israel, which has not confirmed or denied it. Biden said the apparent assassination had not helped ceasefire efforts and the talks were driven into a deep freeze. That killing came just hours after Israel assassinated a top Hezbollah commander in a strike in Beirut. Both strikes drew threats of retaliation from Iran and Hezbollah, and the fear of an all-out regional war diverted international attention away from efforts to wind down the fighting in Gaza. The killings spurred a flurry of diplomatic activity and led the U.S. to direct military assets to the region. Both Netanyahu and Hamas's top new leader, Yahya Sinwar, have incentives to continue the war. This is important. Both Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and the new top leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, who is like the top target of Israel now and is probably hiding in Gaza, both of them have incentives to continue the war. Netanyahu's critics say he is dragging out the war for his own political survival. His far-right coalition partners have pledged to topple the government if Netanyahu agrees to a ceasefire, which could trigger elections that might oust him from power. Netanyahu has said he has the country's best interests in mind. Hamas has gained from the international condemnation that Israel has faced because of the war. And on a personal level, Haniyeh's killing has shown that Sinwar's own life could be on the line if he surfaces once the war ends. Wow. So even in that relatively short article, you can see all these complexities involved in a Gaza-Israel ceasefire negotiation. I'm not that optimistic about it. I don't know what your guys' feeling are. Well, I know you aren't because we asked you. Well, we asked you in a poll what were the chances. What if you thought the ceasefire negotiation would end up preventing an Iranian. I think I said, will there be a ceasefire deal that prevents an Iranian attack? And most of you said no. All right, so let me take a few more comments from you guys. Wall Street says, what a miss. See, something else, I don't blame the article because it's not a long article, but something else it doesn't even talk about is, would Hamas agree to just not be in power at all in Gaza? And then, do they get to go somewhere, like another country where they're not going to be assassinated by Israel or something? And would they even agree to that? I have no idea. Egathis thinks it's in Bibi's best interest to drag this out as long as possible. Zev, our viewer, thinks both sides are negotiating in bad faith. Any kind of peace talks are in vain. Kieran says it isn't up to Hamas. Qatar said today they want Palestinian Authority. But again, something I point out is, if the outside world tries to first of all, if Hamas doesn't agree to just not be in power, I don't know that other Middle Eastern countries are going to want to send I don't know that they're going to want to send replacement forces to Gaza if Hamas hasn't signed off on it. Because remember that there, countries like Qatar or Saudi Arabia that might send forces in to help, maintain order in Gaza if Hamas left. They don't want to be seen as doing Israel's bidding. So if there's no agreement to have where Hamas says, okay, we agree, we're not going to govern Gaza anymore, maybe we'll go away or something. If there's not that kind of agreement, then possibly, from what I understand, countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia are not going to want to throw soldiers in there to maintain, or police officers to maintain order, because it might be looking like they're doing Israel's bidding or the West's bidding. Also, it could be quite violent there. If you have a bunch of people from Hamas hidden there in Gaza resisting the new authority there, that could be an unpleasant situation. It could be very violent and unstable. So, I think there's good reason, if you're going to start reconstructing in Gaza, you're going to want some sort of agreement with Hamas, where they're not, where they don't think they're in charge and they're not launching attacks on whoever is supposedly keeping order there. I would think. Let's see here. Adi Chevris, thanks for your support. Adi says, I'm in Israel and there's not going to be a ceasefire. Iran said they will attack as soon as the meeting is over. Now, I don't know. Yesterday, I believe, in the Reuters article we read, it said something like Iran, if they weren't satisfied with how the negotiations were going, they would attack. But I don't know if this was in Reuters. The article was unnamed Iranian officials, so it wasn't an official pronunciation from the Iranian government. But I would not be surprised if, I do think Iran and Hezbollah will attack Israel in some sort of form. They've said they're going to. As I said, I thought that they would wait for these ceasefire talks to happen. Why bother doing it before at this point? Because you're so close to it. But very well they could do it after. I don't know. I don't know how long they would wait, but they very well could do it. after a couple days or something, or whatever it is, or even a day. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with these ceasefire talks. Our viewer Yasham Hallam says they're sworn enemies. Any ceasefire would be broken anyway. SM Bolts thinks Iran is scared and not going to do anything. Rourke Sublime, sorry, Rourke Sweepney says Hamas is going to have to go at the end of this, the easy way or the hard way. Hang on a second here. Let me do this. See, here we go. Why is this like? There we go. There we go. Yes, the light is starting to come up there. Oh, by the way, there's an article from CNN in January, and the article is CNN reported that Israel's spy chief proposed letting Hamas leaders leave Gaza as part of broader ceasefire talks. Now, a number of those leaders are now dead, like Mohammed Deif. But CNN had reported in January that Israel proposed that Hamas senior leaders could leave Gaza as a part of a broader ceasefire agreement. I also don't understand, if there's a ceasefire, what happens to, like, not the leaders of Hamas, but just the members of Hamas? So does Israel, like, just say, like, well, we're not going to, like, pursue you or arrest you, or not? I don't, because if Israel doesn't say that, then why would people in Hamas want to have a ceasefire? Yeah, we'll have a ceasefire, we'll give up our hostages, and then you can come in and just arrest all of us. Well, I guess the idea would be, in theory, that the ceasefire says that, like, Israeli forces can't go into Gaza and get those people or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I just don't know. Hey, thanks to Aleppo Gambit for the gift memberships. Thanks also to our new member, Carrie Grudges, our new member. Thank you, Yael. Yael says, Kafir and Ariel Bibas were only 9 months and 4 years old when they were taken hostage by Hamas terrorists. That's what Yael says. Thank you, Yael, for your support from Canada. And our new member, Eddie M. Thank you, Red Squirrel 82, for your support. Thank you, Chris Silva. Chris thinks when the ceasefire talks fail, they will attack. Thank you, Walter Beasley. Now, Walter says Palestinians want them there. And Walter makes an interesting point. So I know there's been some proposals that, like, the Palestinian Authority would take control. They're the ones who rule the West Bank. But there's been proposals that, like, they could maybe take control over Gaza. But I believe they're quite unpopular among a large segment of the Palestinian people. So something Walter points out is if there's going to be somebody else ruling over Gaza, it would, maintaining order in Gaza, it would be good if the Palestinians were on board with that. DG thinks either side can't be trusted in a ceasefire agreement. Sip Dordle said they voted for them. I don't know, though, how... I mean, there was initially Hamas was voted into power. I don't this is a whole different topic, and I'm not going to get into it right now. But I don't know that, like, if you didn't support Hamas, was that really something lately in recent years where, like, it was totally cool to go out and say, I don't support Hamas? I mean, it's possible that Hamas was so in control that maybe there was a less support, that there was more dislike of them among the populace than was openly seen, because people felt that they couldn't speak out against them. So I don't know that for sure. I would have to go back and read up on it, but just something to keep in mind, just because a group is not voted out. I don't even know if they were having regular elections lately, but you know, a group can, a ruling apparatus can be in control as such that it's not like there's like free and fair elections anymore that have a realistic chance of getting them out of power, even if a lot of people would not like them in power. But I honestly don't know what the situation was there in recent years. Hold on a second here. I gotta do this for a second here. Give me one moment. Give me one moment here. John, we talked about Ukraine a bunch. Like the whole first half of the stream was about Ukraine. So we talked about Ukraine first, and then we kind of transitioned over to Israel, Gaza, Hamas stuff, Iran. So if you missed the Ukraine stuff, you can rewind and watch that. We did a whole part of the big part of the video about it. Okay. Let me see if I have any updates for you. Sorry, I know people have been sending me messages, and I haven't checked messages. Oh, sorry. Andrew said he saw a small flash. Yeah, so Andrew Broadwater wrote in, and he saw, periodically we've been seeing lights in like this area. So Andrew sent this in. So periodically we've been seeing like a light pop up in this area. And I don't know if it's a flare or not, and I've seen it before pop up. Maybe it's a flare, maybe it's just something that lights up periodically back here. So thank you, Andrew, for writing in. But we have seen that we have seen that type of light in that location on previous streams. So something keeps happening in that location. Thank you, Andrew, for writing in. Hang on a second here. Hold on. Yeah, I'll show. It's the same thing we've seen other nights. I'll actually show you real quick. But it's the same thing we've seen on other nights, right here. So if I do this real quick, look like right in here, and you'll see this was like a half hour ago, but you'll see this light kind of pop up here, right there. See that light right there? I don't know if it's a flare. That happens a bunch. We've seen it. That keeps happening. So maybe it's something that's far away and you can see it sometimes and not. I don't know. But anyways, thanks, Andrew, for writing in about it. What is this here? Oh, sorry. One of our viewers sent me this, Stephanie Bradley. Olya Scootercaster with Freedom News TV she posted something. I'll post a link to the whole video. She reported that she said heavy clashes and arrests after pro-Palestine protesters stormed a Democratic after-party following Kamala Harris campaign event in NYC. I'll play a few seconds of this, and then I'll post the link in the chat, and then you guys can go watch the full video on her page. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I was hearing two of everything. Sorry. It's kind of loud. Let me turn that down. All right, so. Oh, it's actually, she posted a 7.5-minute video. Let me post a link to this video. If you want to watch her video. Her outlet is Freedom News TV. So I'm going to post a link to this video, and if you can go watch all 7.5 minutes of it if you want. Let me do that. Give me 1 second. I'll post a link in the chat. I just posted it. The Democratic convention is starting on the 19th, and I am planning on covering that. Although it might get a little strange with if that's going on, and there's a lot of Israel-Iran stuff going on at the same time. So, all right. Anyways, thanks for messaging me with that. Yeah, some people messaged me some stuff about that. Sorry. Hang on. Hang on a moment. Hang on a moment. All right, guys, I have a feeling we're going to be doing more coverage tomorrow, and I'm not aware that there's anything like totally breaking right now. So I think I might start wrapping up this stream so I can get a little rest, and we can I'm guessing do more coverage tomorrow. By the way, our viewer John Turpin said, could Ukraine really beat Russia? I'm glad of the advancements they have made, but can they really sustain it without NATO or other nations helping on the ground? That's a whole other question. That's a big question, John. I'm not going to address that now. One of the other viewers, Lucky Slots with Lacey, said, can Steve explain why Jews can't pray at the Temple Mount? I'm not up on my Temple Mount research, so we're not going to get into those questions. I think it's best right now that we wrap up this stream, and I get some rest. And in the coming hours, there's going to be the ceasefire talks in the Middle East, and we'll see what comes out of that. But I have a feeling we'll be back on the air shortly, especially because I have a feeling that the ceasefire talks aren't going to produce a ceasefire, and then Hamas and then Iran and Hezbollah are going to say, okay, well, we gave the ceasefire talks a chance. Now we're going to retaliate like we said we are. That's what I think is going to happen. So, anyways, I appreciate you being here for this stream, for this update. Tried to give you an update on both things. It's kind of hard to cover two things at once, but we did some on both stories. We definitely did some on both stories. So Subscribe, follow Agenda Free TV. Maybe as I'm signing, I'll put up the camera as we're signing off here. I'll do this so you can see the sunrise there as I'm talking here. Better than you can see that than see me. But subscribe, follow the channel, turn notifications on. We have a notification system that we have set up that works great, and you sign up and it's free, and then you get sent a notification whenever we go live, and it works really well. So sign up for the free notifications. We do it through Discord, and the link, the mods will post the link to the free notifications, and excuse me, oh my gosh, you can find the notifications link in the description of this video on Facebook and YouTube as well. And also, what did I? Oh, I shut off the volume here. I'll put the volume back on of the here, so you can hear a little bit. A big thanks to our moderators. Thank you so much to our moderators who have been here. Thank you so much. We couldn't have the chats without them. They are why we can have chat rooms. So big thanks to our moderators over there on YouTube: Cynthia Moon, Havasu Mom, Ruth Krafasi, and BZ, thank you, and also all of our other YouTube moderators who've been over there, our Twitch moderators like David Green, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire, Mark and NC, Papa Bear, and Surly Dev, and also our Facebook moderators, K. Lowry Body, Ronald Egnor, Christina Neal, Paul Anderson. Thank you, moderators. I owe a thank you also to Rusty BBB for your support on Twitch. Rusty says there's almost a no-win situation. If Hamas is still a figure in Gaza, the same attack will happen in a few years' time. Yet the human toll of the war in Gaza is terrible. Thank you so much, Rusty BBB, for your support of the channel. And thanks to everybody who donated. That is extremely nice of you. Also, thanks to our new member, DD Hubs, by the way, and our member, Lucky Slots with Lacey. And thanks, Brian N., for the gift memberships. And thanks, Andrew Broadwater, our member. And our new member, Gayla Lang, thank you. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. You are the ones who allow this channel to exist, to purchase content like the videos and the articles and everything. So really appreciate your support. If you ever would like to donate to the channel, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. Okay. And if you missed it, we did a stream on the whole situation with the Boeing Starliner spacecraft earlier today. You can go back and watch that if you want. I will post updates on about this and other stories on my X account. Follow me on X, which is @Lookner, @LOOKNER. That's where you can follow me for breaking news updates when I'm not on the air, @Lookner. I will post a link in the chat. And then Wrigley Rob keeps getting timed out, keeps donating and getting timed out. That seems to be Wrigley Rob's strategy. Thanks, Wrigley Rob. I wish you wouldn't keep getting timed out, though. Also, what was I going to say? Oh, at the same link as the notifications, you can check out our Discord chat where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. A lot of our viewers like doing the Discord chat. It's the same link as the notifications link. It's also free. Big thanks to our Discord mods, by the way. And what was I going to say? Also, oh, if you are watching on YouTube and you want to turn on the YouTube notifications, which I think can be helpful to get more notifications, just to make sure you don't miss a live stream, you got to do this thing on YouTube, which is you do this, you click the notifications bell, and you choose all notifications. That's how you turn on those YouTube notifications. Also, I do have a personal channel where I sometimes stream non-news stuff. although it's been so busy lately. It's been a while since we've been there. But that is called Lookner on YouTube and Looknerd with a D on Twitch. We'll eventually be back over there doing some non-news stuff, live streaming. So you can check that out if you want. I want to say thank you to our Twitch subscribers. You are awesome. Thanks for supporting the channel. People like Wall Street and Shaggy and Relila and Sarah and Gina Pina and Jack's Animals, Hot Rodacy, New Dragons. Thanks so much for subscribing over there. Mirror Chairs. And what else here? Integrity Farmer Bob, thanks for subscribing. Kadeen's Gaming Loving, thanks for subscribing on Twitch. All of our Twitch subscribers, thank you. And all of our other ones there. Our Facebook subscribers, big thanks to you, like Eve Richards, Marjorie Jones, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Billy Joe Drage, Robert Rial II, Diane Allworth, Lou Green, Jared Sparks, Michael Clayton, all of our subscribers, Robert Rial II. Thank you. And hold on, I missed one who's there right now. Jesse Caulfield, thank you. Thanks to all of our Facebook subscribers for supporting the channel. And our YouTube members, big thanks to you, Amy, Ronnie Coleman, Mr. Showtime, Krista Barisi, PZ Wheats, UV Lightning, BC Prepper, Andrew Broadwater, Kathy B, William Cromer, Mythical, Lucky Slots with Lacey, Yippee-Ki J, Yippee-Ki-Yay, Jeff Atkins, Aleppo Gambit, Susie Iris, thanks for being YouTube members and supporting the channel. Jean Romaine, Jaybird, Jonathan Sharp, Red Squirrel, DD Hubs, Joe Bishop, Brian N, Buffalo Women, William Cromer, Juanita Forey, Kathy B, JD, Kim Canadian, Cora Brown, Wickedest Witch. Did I say Red Squirrel? I might be repeating some people. Jim Lil, Surge's Customs, Walter Sheets, Jen's Crunchy Vax, Kathy B, Just Me, Peter Shappy, Praise the Oak, Ocean Mist, Darky7, Ronan, Danny G, Winding Road. Oh, and thank you so much, Krista Barisi, for giving 10 people memberships in the YouTube chat. That's very nice of you. Make sure you thank Krista if she gave you a membership. Thank you so much, Krista. It's very, very nice of you. Thank you. And thanks to all of you again for watching. I appreciate you letting me read your comments on the air and sending me comments and sending questions. Sorry I can't perfectly answer all your questions, but I do the best I can. Christ Alone, thanks for watching. Mayo, thanks for watching and being a member. Thank you to, by the way, on YouTube, if you want to get a gift membership, you might have to like activate that on your account. The mods, I think, can tell you how to activate, receive gift memberships on the account in case you want to get one when somebody gives one. Joe Hart, thanks for watching. Did ISW do an Iran update? I gave their I talked about their Russian update. I'm going to really quickly look at it. They did do an Iran update. Let me really quick look at the Iran update. Okay. So I'm going to do a very, very brief summary of the Iran Institute for the Study of War update because I need to get off the air. And we can probably, we might be covering this tomorrow, so we can talk about it tomorrow. But the Institute for the Study of War did another update, the August 14th one. Thanks. I didn't even realize they'd posted an Iran one. But I'm going to post a link to this in the chat so you can find it and read the whole thing yourself. ISW update here. So we're going to do a very quick, for those of you still watching, I'm going to quickly just glance over this. Iran's supreme leader indicated he still believes Iran must respond to Israeli operations targeting senior Axis of resistance leaders in recent weeks, despite back-channel threats from the U.S. emphasizing Israel would respond forcefully to an attack that kills Israeli civilians or cause significant damage. Okay. So today, on the 14th, the supreme leader said, Anyways, he said something suggesting he's still committing to a direct strike on Israel. I'm not going to get into that right now. Official Hamas statements suggest a ceasefire during the August 15th Doha talks is unlikely. Okay, fine. The Iranian parliament will vote to approve 4 ministerial nominees during the week of August 18th who articulated policies largely consistent with the regime's current foreign policy. Fine. Okay, I want to read through this later. I was just trying to see if there was anything like huge and new, like big scale new. Yeah, I'm not on an initial, really fast, quick reading through. I don't see them like saying like we've changed our prediction about what will happen or anything. They have, Institute for the Study of War has frequently said they think the most likely, what most likely is going to happen is that Iran and the Axis of Resistance groups will launch a large-scale drone and missile attack on Israel. They're not saying it's definitely going to happen, but they have repeatedly said that they thought that was the most likely thing. And yeah, just as an example, on August 12th, from their update on August 12th, it says, U.S. and Israeli officials have warned that Iran will likely conduct a large-scale coordinated attack targeting Israel in the days ahead. These statements are all consistent with our ongoing assessment that Iran and the axis of resistance will most likely conduct a coordinated large-scale drone and missile attack on Israel in response to Israel killing senior axis of resistance leaders, including Ismail Haniyeh, in recent weeks. So I don't think anything saying that assessment has changed. Okay, I am wrapping this up. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. If there's huge news in the coming hours, I'll jump back on the air. Otherwise, we very well may be on the air tomorrow covering stuff. So, but again, I very much appreciate you joining. Thanks, Beth Shepard, for watching. Thank you to, Melissa Terry, thanks for watching. And thanks to Egathis for watching. And thanks to Hectate for watching. And all of our other viewers as well. All right, guys. All right. So that is it for now. Appreciate you tuning in. More news to come. This has been our attempt at trying to give you some double coverage of the Israel-Iran crisis and also Ukraine's incursion into Kursk, Russia. If you missed the Ukraine stuff, most of that was we did a lot of that at the start of the stream, at like the first half of the stream. So if you want to, you can rewind the stream, watch the first part, and you'll see a lot of us talking about the Ukraine Kursk incursion situation. All right, that is it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.